lane.
Despite my appearing more invested in this bottle of Tabasco sauce than our Yorkie is a squeaker, I assure you that it's not a new flavor. I'm as familiar with this shit as I am ketchup. That being said, what I am is alarmed because the bottle just moved all by itself. Have you ever had something you were stretching for really hard mysteriously do this for you? Picture a lightsaber to a Jedi Knight. And on the off chance that you have, what's the best way for someone who's obviously not expecting it to keep their wits about them? Point blank, my ass cheeks remain one solid rock. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I peed myself over it necessarily, but I think I might have sworn a little louder than the old lady cares for. To know us is to understand that neither my wife or I are what you call morning people. Waking up this early in the first place is a tall order. There's no way I'm looking to have this conversation when she's worried I'm stung. You know I'm not. I swear that this son of a bitch was just right over there, next to the wonky-looking sugar shaker, the dishwasher wound, and the apple butter. Excuse the clutter, but go ahead and measure the distance for yourself from right here. You can see how it's beyond a seated person's reach, right? Check out that jar with the sticky plat lid that still has me by like another whole second hand and a half. Oh, I swear, old Bloody Mary was standing at least that far downrange herself, man. There was so much real estate between my extended fingernail tips and this signature white diamond label that I was starting to doubt my taste for it this go-round. I'd have to inevitably reposition the stupid chair back here up to the sweet spot at the table again upon sitting back down if I get too carried away. Poor me, am I right? Now, I'm really not sure if I'd have been more receptive to the idea of evolving Stretch Armstrong's arm, but I can tell you for certain that my half-hearted grunts and indiscernible animal calls were in no way encouraging the flask to meet me halfway, even if the fantasy was there at first. When the bottle kissed my palm, apparently propelled with quite a little of that sugar behind it, my eyes opened wider than they are now. Tell me if you can see 360 degrees of white surrounding my dashing baby blue irises, as I suspect. It's rare that something gets me bad enough to brandish my entire eyeball like this. But look where we find ourselves, huh? My pupils are still adjusting to the light. Black periods in case you've forgotten what I look like. Hopefully they're doing an adequate job of projecting the bafflement going on behind the pinpoints of light reflecting. This is a little too next level if you ask me. Morpheus, or pocketbook pooch, is pretty quick to catch on that something rather peculiar just occurred. For once he's not interested in my food or his own ass. Well, maybe we won't go quite that far. But he seems as distracted as I am. I'm serious. We have no idea if that was a poltergeist doing me a solid just now, or if the Matrix suffered a seizure when no one else was looking. Oh, trust me, my face didn't start this rubber. From determination to astonished, quite literally within a snap. I swear that my whiskey bloom wound up on the floor upon registering what happened. It's early and I'm slow. Of course, mind you that all this takes place before I straighten my back for a quick sec, as if this somehow sharpens my focus, especially when my slouching afterward is so much worse, leading into the green copy for answers. Well, I'm sure you've held a Tabasco sauce bottle before. You know as well as I do that there's no answers printed on here. I almost don't want to admit it, but I'm half looking for extra ingredients. Now, I know, you're right. Like I said before, I'm familiar with the recipe. I'm just leaving no stone unturned. You'd think there'd be a warning if the contents were capable of walking on its own. Vinegar with liquefied peppers and salt, right? Except that I've apparently forgotten how to decipher written English just when I think we peaked bizarre. I'm left completely in the dark. The amount of facial tics firing off in front of this unremarkable bottle would probably embarrass the shit out of me if I were called on it. Luckily, Beck's back is turned to me. She's standing in our kitchenette, going to town on her frying pan, sizzling away and finishing off the rest of the Teflon with the wrong spatula. This is a rather difficult hiccup to digest. Let's talk Arkham's razor, possible solutions to my puzzle. The way I figure it, I'm either dreaming or a certain somebody is suffering a telekinetic stroke. I had the perfect opening line, too. I was going to initiate this narrative by suggesting that in a grayscale world, my scrambled eggs would still be golden yellow. But I'm more interested in my budding superpowers. We'll have to settle for an encore presentation while I try to uncross my eyes. Becky comes up with some pretty colorful language herself, interrupting my trying it again, louder than I've ever heard her say anything in my life. Pretty alarmed. Neighbors, I throw back at her in my dork voice, as if that's what she sounded like once upon a time, off narration. I still ogling my own list of what the fucks. You better come take a look at this, make sure I'm not tripping. My eyes trade the pepper juice for my wife's bathrobe tie. She's not offering her face. I lift from the damn dining room chair and scooch it back with my calves. If you're at all curious, I could have reached the Tabasco sauce stud. But look whose attention is redirected a little beyond himself this morning. I join her on the linoleum where Morpheus 2 rejoins to gnawing on his ass again, rather loudly. The knob! To the stove! She sounded like I would if I were to actually speak at this specific moment. What's going on, sugar shit? As if we weren't just arguing off narration. The stove's been off the entire time. The heating element is even completely dark. We both stare at this for a good long time with foreheads that wrongly suggest that we still despise each other, still framing again with no context. How is the bottom of your skillet glowing? A certain couple, as you can imagine, stand still at approximately 4:13 in the morning, just blinking at this self-cooking pan on a cold stove. What I do next seems like a logical experiment. You see, I sort of reach out and goose my wife. Not only am I able to successfully grab a handful of Becky unimpeded, I get her eyebrows uncensored as well. I clear my throat and sniff one good, strong, sharp whiff of the atmosphere, like a superhero would, crossing his arms and checking out his handiwork. Well, that ain't it. Lost. Becky's funky look skews ever so funkier before I explain. So my first thought was that we were dreaming, or I am anyway. Yeah, I know I'm awake. This is when I re-enter the dining room and fetch the bottle again. Check this out. I place the bad boy on the counter to show her my new trick. The bastard, instead of sliding across the formica, it goes off like a glass grenade, leaving Bloody Mary assassinated all over the backsplash and underneath the cabinet. It's at this point that I'm starting to consider pissing the shop off and calling in sick for work at the last minute. I think I've been stricken with a nasty case of the paranorms, huh? You probably won't be surprised to learn my apology was heartfelt. It sounded more like profanity, but it was pretty heartfelt. She ticks her tongue in solidarity with me, shaking her head and contemplating a divorce, I'll bet. I'll get you a rag, she says, before she too kind of bursts. The woman I share my bed with vanishes into thin air, leaving me with a million new questions. Oh, I hear that clothes dryer in the other room open and close. Then guess who pops back into phase without missing a beat? As if she's been doing this her whole life, reappearing with the stained Garfield number. Fringing rips and grape stain all hit my face before it dangles. My love? The octave my voice broadcast telegraphed my frame of mind louder than the actual volume at this point, while receiving ownership of Garfield in my hands. So, how long has teleportation been a thing? Horn glasses to the cute cat eye one she wears. Nose probably a good hand length apart. Yeah, let's just say that those uncensored eyebrows that I may have brought up earlier start using exclamation points.